your mind.
Hello and welcome to Open Your Mind Radio. You have myself, Alan James.
And myself, Stephen George. Good evening.
Good evening. It's Sunday, the 13th of May, 2018. And just a bit of news. We did plan to have guests on, Sydney and Soma, singer. We were going to talk about bras causing cancer, or the link to cancer. But Sid and Soma actually live in Hawaii, and they had to evacuate their house because the Kilauea volcano going off. It's that serious. So we haven't actually heard from them. They did say they might be able to still do the interview, but go to a neighbour's house and do it. So we haven't actually heard from them yet. So they might just come on later. Maybe it's a time zone thing, I don't know. But if they do come on and contact us on through Skype, then if we can get them on later on, if they come on, great. If not, we will contact them and we will reschedule the interview with them. So either way, if they come on, we'll get them on. If they don't come on, we'll contact them and we'll reschedule. Thanks to we do have a backup guest, and Thomas Williams from the Truth and Integrity Show has been kindly enough to come on and cover for the time being and talk to us about what's going on. We did the United We Start Radio Marathon yesterday, and Thomas was on there as a guest as well. If you want to check it out and listen to the podcast, it's on unitedwestart.org. The podcast is over there, and tune in and you can actually hear the podcast. So loads to talk about and loads of things to get on with. Before we do any more or say any more, let's find out what the communication channels are.
Okay, communication channels this evening, folks.
The communication channels are email info@oymireland.com, by phone 046 927 1212, and you can also contact us direct through the OYM chat room.
Yes, the OYM chat room can be found at oymradio.com. Remember, you need a username and password in order to access the room, and you need to request those before the show, or well, at least 24 hours before the show. A big hi to everyone who's already logged into the chat room, and also People's Internet Radio, the chat room over there as well. A hi to everyone already over there. And that is the place, well, either of the chat rooms are the places for posing your comments and your questions that you would like to ask to our guest. As Alan said, it is Thomas Williams at the moment. If our other guests can make it on, then we will have them on also. We also have the usual links there on the website for the YouTube, for the email, for the Skype, the anti-social media, Facebook, and also for Twitter. And as we have said from time to time, if you're a new listener, or if it's you just have something to say, you want to just give us a shout, do drop us an email to info@oymradio.com, and just let us know what your thoughts are, what you're thinking, and how you're getting on, where you're listening from. What else have we got? We also have links on the website there for the TuneIn Radio application. That's a free application for your smartphone, your iPhone, and you can listen to us all day, every day. And the phone number is 0469271212. If you do want to call in on the phone line, if you're outside the Republic of Ireland, it's going to be 00353 Alan.
Brilliant. So it's been a busy few days for myself. On Friday, I did just a off-the-cuff interview with John McCann, who's on People's Internet Radio.
Brilliantly received, by the way.
Yeah, well, it was just myself and John. We're both drummers, and we talked about the music business and being involved in the music business in the 80s, and a band that we used to see and John used to play with. And it was a good chat. You know, it's on our YouTube channel if you want to listen to it. It's nothing got to do with what we talk about with Open Your Mind Radio. It's just purely a chat about the music business and having a laugh. Steve, you tuned in and you were having a listen to.
I did actually. I have to say there was a lot of positive comments on the chat room, and I was in great company with a lot of the PIR listeners on Friday, and a lot of people were kind of saying by the end of it that they didn't know there was as much to know about drumming and the music business, and a lot of people have actually said like it was kind of a break and it was a breath of fresh air just to hear like two lads kind of talking about, you know, something that they were obviously very passionate about and knew plenty of, and reminiscing as well, and obviously the music that you played. I know it all kind of sparked off because Alan found the music tape of a band that he used to go and see back in the day, back in the 1980s. And as it turned out, I think John McCann on PIR, John was involved in the band as well. I think the band was called The Business, and we played some music from that cassette that Alan found, and they just kind of chatted, and I have to say it was very, very interesting. It was just kind of like it was kind of like eavesdropping on two lads who were very passionate about, you know, what they do and what they did, and reminiscing, and just kind of getting all the gossip and the scandal. I have to say there wasn't too much gossip or scandal. Like, they didn't kind of divulge what happened off stage with some of the groupies, but I suppose that's for another show. Maybe they will do another show, I don't know, but a lot of people did say, yeah, it was great, it was nice to listen to, and they would like to hear something like that again.
Brilliant stuff. Just quickly, a couple of things that we want to read out. Just an update on the dinner auction. The auction is to raise funds for the Mead Food Bank for struggling families, and the auction winner is the person with the highest bid who will be having dinner with myself and Steve. Now, first bid came in, which is €100, and then that was beaten by €125. But the chap who donated or made the bid of €100, Dennis, I'd like to thank Dennis, because even though Dennis was outbid on the auction, he actually donated €100 to us for the food bank. So that's brilliant. So a big thank you, Dennis, for doing that. That's much appreciated. So that €100 will go towards the food bank anyway. And then if the bidding keeps going, whatever money's made from the bidding, what we'll do is obviously put it all together. And if there's a bit, we'll divide it up between groups. And if there's a little bit, we'll just put it towards the food bank. And then go down and see Aisling and, you know, get some food in and stuff like that. Just to help her with the food bank, because I know her levels of stock are going down, so we want to help out there. So we'll finish the auction at the end of May, probably in 2 weeks' time, and we'll see how we get on. You know, it's only a bit of fun, but it's for a good cause. So that was nice and considerate of Dennis for donating that. So that's much appreciated. Right, Steve.
Yes, we have some news from the independent.ie, and it says how a shift in Earth's magnetic poles forces Cork Airport into crucial runway name change. It says changes to the magnetic poles of the Earth have forced the renaming of the main Cork Airport runway. Because of gradual changes in the magnetic poles, runways have to be designated roughly every 50 years. In 1961, it says Cork's airport main runway was designated as runway 17/35. However, it's now runway 16/34. Over the past 57 years, the Earth's magnetic poles have changed and shifted the magnetic headings of the runway. The runway now stands at 164 degrees and 344 degrees, respectively. Now, that's actually interesting, because, you know, we heard about the magnetic poles, it's going to change, and we were kind of expecting, you know, something to, we know it's not going to happen overnight, but we kind of figured that because people have been talking about it, and the Planet Nibiru and all this sort of stuff that was going on, we kind of figured that it's probably going to happen, you know, over maybe a couple of period of a few months. But if this has been happening since the last 57 years, does that mean that we're going to wait another 57 years?
No, I think it's probably, maybe it's escalating, maybe it's speeding up, you know, so, you know, I heard about this a couple of years ago. Over in America they were doing it, so obviously now it's, you know, they're doing it in Ireland, so it goes to show you it is happening, things are happening. And you're going to take the third one as well.
I am indeed. The number 3, Goldman Sachs says curing diseases may not be economically viable. A leaked report has stated that many in the health industry have whispered privately that there is a lot less money in curing people than in long-term management of disease. We've been saying that for years. The issue is brought into focus by the possibility of a gene therapy that could soon cure a large variety of genetic conditions by changing individual units of DNA. However, the huge potential boon for society could be blocked without changes to the way the health is funded. Countries with public health systems may be able to reap the benefits of the new technologies, leaving the US trailing in their wake. Yeah, look, we've known about this for a long time, and yeah, there is no money in curing diseases. Yeah, what do you say, Alan? I think I don't know if you coined the phrase, but you did say it before that you know, when you're sick, you're a customer. You're a customer to the whole damn thing.
How's your week?
Yeah, my week's been okay. It's been nothing special, as I did say to Alan earlier on. Had the pain genie out, giving it a once over. My wife done a 5k walk there yesterday, and she suffers with her knee, and she has been taking serapeptase, and that has that's kept her knee at bay. And I have to say, the benefits of serapeptase, check them out online, have a look, and you will be you might be surprised, but there's a lot of benefits to taking the serapeptase. I take it myself as well, funny enough, for a knee condition too, and it does keep that at bay. It hasn't bothered me in probably the best part of a year or more. But yeah, she's been taking that, but she did a 5k walk yesterday and obviously done some damage. So the pain genie was out, so I had to give her a once off with the pain genie. And just in case people were wondering, we still do use the pain genie from time to time. And it's definitely a benefit, and it's definitely something that maybe people who are suffering from pains and aches and pains, go on to the Pain Genie website and just see if it can help you. And if you reckon you might be of benefit, it may be of benefit, then look up and see if there's a local practitioner in your area, someone who may be able to give you a treatment. And what else is on the list? Yeah, the only other thing I want to mention very quickly is the referendum, the upcoming referendum that we're going to have here in Ireland. Myself and Alan were just going to kicking this around before we actually come on live, and talk about divide and conquer. And there's so many posters, and like where I live, there's a lot of no posters, and then tomorrow morning there could be the no posters could be ripped down overnight, and there could be yes posters in their place. And this has been happening all across the country. Now, as far as I'm aware, it's probably the taxpayer who's paying for this, so it's coming out of our pockets. But it's definitely dividing and conquering, because I've had several conversations with people. Now, I'm listening to both sides. I'm really on the fence, and I've been listening to what both sides are saying, and there's a lot of people in the no camp, and they have arguments that they put forward, and you can listen to the arguments and you say, well, do you know what, that makes absolute sense, and I can understand why you're on the no side. Then you can listen to someone from the yes camp, and the exact same scenario. What they say seems to make a lot of sense. So I've actually seen this, and I've witnessed this firsthand. It is dividing and conquering. It has turned neighbour against neighbour, and probably family member against family member. Because we did have a discussion about it there today recently with my wife and my daughter, and we kind of kicked it around, and we were kind of listening to what both sides were saying, and we could see sense in it. And when you listen to it, it's propaganda. It's just propaganda, and it's dividing the people. Like a conversation I had in work during the week, I have to be careful what I say, but a conversation I had in work during the week, and it could have led to a very heated debate or blows, but there was one of the individuals that I spoke with was very outspoken for one side, and I wasn't getting involved, and I wasn't taking any sides, but I was just kind of kicking it about with him, and putting kind of scenarios on what if, and what about this, and what about that. And when you see someone who you work with, and you've worked with kind of a nice pleasant person, and they're going red in the face and they're getting very angry at you, you realise, wow, this is all brought about because the government have just put this referendum out there. And I don't know what way it's going to go, to be honest. And well, if I had to bet, and I'm not a betting man, but if I had to make a bet, I'm going to say that the government will get what they want in the end, because they generally do. And seemingly all the political parties, they're all campaigning for a yes vote, so they probably will get what they want. But unfortunately, there's obviously going to be a lot of dividing and a lot of conquering, and a lot of people who will obviously fall out with a lot of people. And it's sad, because they are dividing us and conquering us yet again. But yeah, it's just it's an interesting one. Now, Alan was saying to me earlier that he's not putting how he feels or what he thinks is right or wrong. He's not putting it out there, and I'm doing the same. I'm not putting anything out there, because the last thing that we want to do here is say that we support this side or that side, because we have a lot of respect for everyone in our chat room and everyone who listens to the show. Especially all the people in Ireland who this debate will actually have an effect on. So we're not going to be falling out with anybody. At the end of the day, it's up to each person to make their own choice, obviously, an informed decision. and that'll be that. So we'll see what happens. I think it's on the 25th of May. So by the 26th, 27th, we'll know what's the state of play anyway. But yeah, that's pretty much my week in a nutshell. How's yours?
Okay, just a couple of things so we'd sort everything out here. Yes, last week we had Danny Serlon, and Danny mentioned a TV series or 3 series called Childhood's End. I think he called it Children's End, but it's actually Childhood's End. I did see this a couple of years ago, so I went back and just rewatched it with a new set of eyes, because obviously you learn different things. And definitely there's a few things in there. The novel, it was based on a novel by Arthur C. Clarke, and he was one of the insiders. So it makes you think when you go and watch it, and okay, there's a bit of Hollywood involved in it as well, but there are things in there of interest. And the other thing was, I made a quick video during the week regarding the Lemurian plug.
You did. You beat me to it.
Oh, okay. As you know, we got 2 Lemurian plugs to try and test them out, and we got the proprietors of the Lemurian plug on the show a couple of weeks ago to talk about it. Now, well, I just want to confirm that we're not endorsing the product, and we're still kind of testing it. So we don't want people saying OYM said it worked, because we're not endorsing it. We don't get anything for it. We're just going to be honest in our findings, okay? And we are still testing it. But I will say that I did put the Lemurian plug on my phone, and for 5 minutes, not 45 minutes, but 5 minutes, to rephase the phone, and then put my phone on my elbow, because I had a bit of a sore elbow. And I'm not saying the pain has gone away, but it's definitely eased. As to how that works, I don't know. Somebody said it's got quantum healing, and that's why we don't understand it, because it's on such a level. I don't know. But, so I did make a positive effect, and we did get a couple of emails in from people during the week to say that they've also had positive effects by the plug. I don't know, even the proprietors don't know how it works. So, and we are trying to find out how it works, because even the chap who put it together didn't even know really himself. But they do some magic with it, and then they send them out, and people are reporting good results with it. But hey, if it works, it works, at the end of the day, if it does the job. So I'll still put my mobile phone on my elbow. I know people are saying mobile phone signals, cell phones and all that, but apparently the Lemurian plug changes the phasing of your phone from a negative frequency to a positive frequency, and other things as well. So that's why, and people have used them. Now, whether I use the old socket, I don't know. We'll see. And the last thing on the list is, this is a bit of a Craggy Island thing, where the whistle went missing. If you're a fan of Father Ted, where the whistle went missing in Craggy Island. Well, we live in Walton's Mountain, and it's a village, and there's not much crime, which is great to report. But during the week, bomb, 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 we should have the sound effect, a punnet of strawberries from my door disappeared. A neighbour of mine dropped off some strawberries for me as a little thank you. And I came in, and she rang me in the evening. She said, "Oh, did you enjoy the strawberries?" And I said, "What strawberries?" And she said, "I left some on your door." Because she leaves, a few bits and pieces as a thank you. And so the strawberries went missing. So I know there were only strawberries, but when you can't even have strawberries on your door for a neighbour to leave them, I mean, that's how bad it is. Some people are so sad that they go and nick strawberries.
So if anyone knows anything about the strawberries, please contact the local Gardaí on Craggy Island.
I got CSI Walton's Mountain coming down taking photos,
That's where they were.
So now I'm thinking I should have had my camera set up. I would have caught that on camera. Yeah. Now I'm kicking myself. Okay, right. Now we have, as we said, Sid and Soma are online. Thomas very kindly came on as a backup guest, just in case we didn't get Sid and Soma because of the volcano in Hawaii. But they are online and they're ready to go. So we're going to bring Thomas in to give us a quick heads up on his show, all the details of his show, and his next interview, which will be tomorrow night, I believe. Thomas, good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Sorry for this very, very short chat, but a big thank you for coming on and covering We didn't
That's okay.
didn't expect them. We knew they might come on. We didn't know what time. But a big thank you coming on. So just before you go, tell us about your THI show, where people can find you, and your next interview, so you know what they can tune in.
The link for the show is www.spreaker.com/user/8955881. We have an articles website where you can catch the archives, all the live shows, and some of the important shows we've done on thinkdifferent.thepeoplesclub.org, Facebook, Truth, Honour and Integrity, MeWe is the Facebook alternative. No privacy issues, no data issues, no spying, no algorithms on MeWe.com, and that's Truth, Honour and Integrity as well. And the People's Club donations website link is thepeoplesclub.org.
And your interview for tomorrow night?
Yes, I'm with Mick on Liffey Sound, is it?
That's Liffey Sound FM, yeah.
Yeah, at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for me, 9 p.m. GMT. So I'm looking forward to that. New show, different people to catch up with.
Brilliant. Excellent. Well, Thomas, again, thanks for coming on as a backup guest. We would have had a lot to talk about, but, we're going to organise.
That's okay.
We're going to organise another interview, hopefully with yourself and Randy, if we can get Randy on as well. But a big thank you for coming on. Stay with us there for a minute, Thomas. We're just going to go off to a musical break, and we'll be back after this.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMradio.com and peoplesinternetradio.com.
Just to let you know that Sid and Soma are actually based in Hawaii, and as you know, the Kilauea volcano went off and they've had to leave their own house, and I believe they're in a neighbour's house. We'll find out a bit more about it. So it's touch and go at the moment. With the signal as well. We'd had one or two problems with the signal, so fingers crossed, if everything stays the way things are at the moment, we should be okay. So before we bring Sid and Soma in, Steve's going to read out the bio and some background information.
Okay. Sydney Ross Singer and Soma Grismaijer are pioneers in applied medical anthropology, examining the cultural causes of disease, integrating the fields of medicine, biochemistry and anthropology. Sydney and Soma have made numerous discoveries of how common lifestyles, attitudes and behaviours can result in many diseases of our time. Their discovery of the link between breast cancer and bras has transformed the bra industry and has inspired a new approach to breast cancer prevention. Sydney and Soma are coordinators of the Institute for the Study of Culturogenic Disease, located in Hawaii, where they live off the grid on a rainforest preserve and animal sanctuary.
That's it. Okay,
That's
brilliant.
it.
Let's bring him in. Good evening, Sydney. How are you?
Well, we're doing okay given the circumstances. It's difficult being on a volcano when the volcano is erupting, and the air quality is a problem where our sanctuary is. So we've had to go to another side of the island at a friend's house, and we're waiting out the volcano's wrath and see what happens.
Yeah, because you did say to us during the week that you had to leave your house because of what was going on. What is the situation at the moment? Before we get into the subject matter we're going to talk about tonight, what is the situation today at present?
Well, the 18th fissure has opened up, and it's lava is coming out and smoke, and there's only one small dirt road along the coast to get in and out of this area of the island now, because the other roads have been cut off. And there's about 2,000 people in that area, and a lot of people, and the wind, they're all downwind now from the lava flow, and that's bad sulfur dioxide fumes. In fact, we found that our vegetation the next day, within one day, when the smoke came over our farm, all the vegetation, the leaves just dropped off the trees, the grass turned brown, and so it's sulfur dioxide mixes with water to make sulfuric acid, so you get acid rain, and it could be extreme. It could be really caustic. It'd burn you. You certainly don't want to get into your eyes even. And you can't breathe. So it's just uninhabitable. Of course, if the volcano stops, as long as we're not inundated, we could hope to return and things hopefully will recover. But we're in that stage now. We're fortunate our house hasn't been overflown by lava, but the air quality makes it so you can't live there. And so we're fortunate compared to some other people who've lost their homes.
And how many have lost their homes at the moment?
Well, there are about 300 people in the shelter up in Pahoa, the government shelter there. I think the house, how many? About 35 houses are gone. Have been, yeah, maybe more than that now. And it's only a week in, so there used to be a vent where the flows for 35 years. It's been flowing into the ocean. It's not like a surprise. This is an active volcano, and but we've been living upwind from it. And, you get this part of the island, because there's an active volcano, real estate is relatively affordable. So you can live in a beautiful place, and as long as the winds are blowing the normal trade winds, the smoke is not even, you don't even know it exists, and everything is smooth. It's not an explosive volcano. But it stopped flowing there, and then it started underground. The magma started moving towards us, and it went past us underground, and we were feeling lots of earthquakes. Like every few minutes you'd feel an earthquake, and we were driving when the 6.9 quake hit, and the road was just undulating under us and almost turned a car over. And so it got really scary for like several days, just earthquakes. And the earthquakes moved as the lava moved, and then it finally started breaking through the surface with some fissures and gas and smoke, and then sometimes the lava starts spewing out, and then it stops, and then another one opens, and it'll continue doing that. And the original vent that it was coming out of for 35 years now is shut down. So it looks like it's going to have a new place to come out. And it could be for a few months and then stop and then move again back to where it was for all those years, because that's closer to the source, or at least what we're used to being the source. Or it's just a whole new, the island's going to change again. And, as you drive from this part of the island, you suddenly go through areas that are lava.
Yeah.
And then there's more forest and jungle, and then there's a whole swath of lava. And that's what happens over the years.
Wow. Okay, well, listen, all the best anyway. I hope everything sorts itself out, in the end, and I hope your house is okay. That's the most important thing, that you can actually get back. Now, we did hook up with you, and we were emailing during the week there, because we got the information about yourself and Soma from Walter Graham, who's a good friend of the show. And Walter's deals with a number of subjects, and we've had him on the show before, and he recommended getting yourself and Soma on the show, because this is quite serious. I mean, it sounds, it sounds strange that, women have been wearing wireless bras for years, and nothing's really been said about them. And all of a sudden, obviously, I'm sure you've been doing this, yourself and Soma have been doing this for a number of years, and we really haven't heard anything about it. So I suppose the best thing to do is start us off with how you got into this and how you started doing your research to find this information that bras are linked to breast cancer.
Well, hi, I'm Soma.
Hi, Soma.
Wife. And I'll start that off because it all began with me.
Oh, dear. Hold on. Sorry.
It started when I was pregnant with our son, and we were doing some research in Fiji on a remote island. I was hanging up some bras on the line to dry after washing them, and a young Fijian girl comes over and says, "Oh, what are those?" Very curious, and I had to explain what a bra was, and she asked why I wore them, and then she pulled on it and said, "Wow, isn't it tight?" And I had to admit, well, yes, it is, but you just get used to it. And that's the first time I even questioned or thought about why I wore a bra. It's just something that women do from puberty onward every day of their lives without thinking about it. And then about a week later, I discovered a scary lump in my breast. And we were in a panic, didn't understand why I would have gotten this. I was very healthy otherwise. And so we rushed back to the States, took my bra off and looked, and I said, wow, red marks, look at these marks. And Sid remembered being in vet school, and that's how you castrate a bull, is tie off its testicles with something tight. Anything tight interferes with circulation. And that was a possibility. We remembered the conversation with the Fijian girl and thought, wow, maybe could be a problem. Let's look into this. And that started our research.
Yeah, and I should explain, the way we approach things is, so we're medical anthropologists. And what we do is we study, how our culture makes us sick by giving us bad attitudes and behaviors. And, when you introduced me, my background is in both medicine, anthropology, and biochemistry. And I integrate them to try to understand how our body is affected by what we do to it. Because, most of medicine sees the human body in biological terms solely. And that's why they could use animal models for disease, because it's all biology as far as they're concerned. And they recognize animal models aren't good for human comparison all the time, most of the time. But, they think of them as biologically somehow equivalent. And what we do is we try to see the cultural impositions that actually change our biology. I mean, the most obvious things are like the food you eat, which the culture gives you, and the things we think are consumable, some of which are totally artificial and man-made, could be changing. They change how we function. They change our physiology. When we take drugs, when we, the stresses that we have in our lives, that affects our physiology. And what we were coming on with this is, how does clothing affect physiology, specifically tight clothing? And there's actually a huge history of clothing causing disease. And, in fact, the bra and breast cancer link was understood in the 1930s. There was a Dr. Mayo who started the Mayo Clinic in the United States. He commented in a 1931 article in the Annals of Surgery that breast cancer is very low incidence in cultures where they don't bind the breasts and constrict them with clothing. So they understood that bras, even there were patents back then saying bras cause cancer. We think this is a better bra. And ever since there have been bras, and bras are the descendants of the corset. The corset, which was constricting men, women, and children, actually, but it was causing deformity and dysfunction from constriction, and it destroyed people's quality of living. I mean, these were very bad constrictive devices, and they would divide it into the girdle and the bra. So here we were looking at Soma's lump as a question, what could be causing this? And we saw these red marks and indentations around her breast left by the bra. So the first, line of thinking is, well, what does constriction do? And could that cause cancer? And what does it do to you to wear something tight to cause these marks? And that's how we developed our theory of lymphatic impairment leading to disease. And we did a study on this in the United States on about 4,700 women, and half of them had breast cancer. And we asked them about their past bra wearing habits and behaviors to see if there was a pattern that showed that wearing bras increased cancer risk. And what we found was that indeed was the case, and it was astounding what our results were. We essentially, the bra-free women have about the same rate of breast cancer as men do. And the tighter and longer they wear a bra, the higher their rates go up. And over 12 hours is when it really starts to go up. 12 hours a day of constricting their breasts, And then you compare a woman who wears it 24/7, and many women do. They think they're doing themselves a favor, actually, because the bra industry says, oh, this will keep your breasts from sagging, but it doesn't. And it constricts them and causes all sorts of problems. And they wear them 24/7. And you compare that woman to a bra-free woman, and her rate of breast cancer is 100 times higher. And that's like 2 to 3 times higher than the link between tobacco and cancer, smoking and lung cancer. Mm. So we're talking about something that's in that order of magnitude between bras and breast cancer.
Well, I suppose what we have to say is the current reasons why, you know, myself and Steve's partner, both of them are, we would say, top heavy. Steve?
Okay.
Yes? Okay. To put it politely. And of course the excuses and what we hear is, one, we have to put them on because it stops the sagging, and number two, if they didn't put them on, they'd hit themselves in the face. And I'm sure there's a multitude of other excuses that women use regarding the bra. But what you're saying is these are all myths, that it's not the case, especially when it comes to, I did say wireless bra, I meant to say underwire bra. That's how I'm focused on technology. But these are the things that you hear women say on a regular basis. And of course, what are the solutions to women who don't want to wear an underwire bra? I know I've heard this before, not from the breast cancer side, but I've heard that underwire bras are very bad for you. So I think what we need to do is obviously talk about what we want to get to is why it's the case, and also any solutions that you can offer to the women. But how do you change something? I mean, women have been brainwashed and programmed with this for years. How do you get into that programming to change them?
It's difficult. I must admit, even I had a difficult time. I had been wearing bras every day of my life for 30 years. I was 42 at the time I discovered my lump. And I had an incentive to get rid of it. I thought, well, I got to get rid of this lump. If this will do it, I'll do it. But it was very difficult in the beginning. You do become addicted. You're totally brainwashed into thinking you have to have a certain shape breast. I mean, we women go around with artificially shaped breasts. It's really crazy, but this is what we've been trained to do. And when I took off my bra in the beginning, the first few days was so uncomfortable, not so much physically, but emotionally and mentally. I was afraid to go out in public. I was afraid I would be ridiculed or people would look at me and stare. And I was afraid of all of those things, but I discovered that within a week or two, I became much more comfortable, and I realized that people weren't looking, weren't staring, didn't care, didn't notice, and it became much easier after several weeks. And the more and more, the longer you do it, the more comfortable you become, to the point where if you tried that old bra back on, there's no way you could wear it again. You realize, oh my goodness, what have I been doing to myself? And you become liberated. Literally, it's a very, very freeing feeling. It takes a while, I must admit, but once you get there, you feel liberated, you feel you can breathe easier, you can move more easily, and it's just a wonderful feeling. And people don't notice, don't care. I mean, I've got large breasts, and they're not up where they would be if I were wearing a bra, but they're comfortable. I feel good. I feel very healthy now. My lump went away, and I realized that this is the leading cause of breast cancer. Women weren't made to have to wear 20th century lingerie. I mean, any woman can go bra free once she adapts and gets used to it. It's just that we're so used to wearing one that at first it feels very uncomfortable.
I want to add a few other things to that. You gotta when women feel like they need a bra, it's first of all, most of that's brainwashing, and from an industry that's making billions every year. There's 1 million bras sold every day in the United States. That's how big the market is. And so when you're brainwashed into that, you think you need it. That's one thing. But the other thing is the bras create a dependency. If you put your arm in a sling every day from puberty on for 12 or more hours every day, your ligaments would atrophy, your muscles would atrophy, your shoulder would become dependent on wearing a sling. And that's essentially what happens with the breasts. The internal suspensory ligaments, called the Cooper's ligaments, that hold the breast shape, over time, they stretch out, and from use with lactation, when a woman nurses a baby, they stretch out. But they recover their to a large degree, they recover their tone. And as the woman moves, her breasts are on her chest in the front of her. They obviously, nature made them that way. So they're going to bounce, they're going to move, and that actually propels the lymph fluid through to the lymph nodes. It makes me think I really need to explain to you guys the mechanism here about the lymphatics. Do you want to hear why bras are causing this problem medically?
Well, yeah. We're going to have questions from our listeners because we have 2 chat rooms here that we have questions coming in. But if it's not too long, of course, please explain.
Okay, the essential issue is the lymphatic system is the circulatory pathway of your immune system, and it consists, all of our cells are floating, basically bathing in fluid. And they're in a matrix that's a connective tissue matrix that holds the cells, and the fluid bathes the cells, delivers oxygen and nutrients, and removes wastes and toxins. And the fluid is delivered by your capillaries and your bloodstream under pressure, and then most of the fluid passively drains to the lymph nodes through the lymphatic system. Some enters the bloodstream back, but a lot of it goes through the lymphatics, which are tiny vessels that drain these spaces. And it takes this fluid to your lymph nodes, which for the breast, most of them is going to be in the armpit, which are factories for white blood cell production. It's your immune system. And if there's any bacteria or viruses or cancer cells in your tissues, these get flushed also towards the lymph nodes to get an immune reaction. And then you fight these things, and it happens all the time. We get cancer cells developing throughout our bodies all the time, but our immune system fights it and gets rid of them, so you don't even realize you ever had any. Well, if you constrict this flow with a tight garment, it's very easily constricted because there's no internal pressure pushing it forward like in the bloodstream. It's a passive drainage system with one-way valves that keep it moving. But these are, as I said, microscopic, easily compressed. So the first thing that would get cut down by a tight garment would be your lymphatics. It would result in the fluid getting congested in the tissue. And if you do this every day, year after year, for hours every day, what's going to happen is your tissues will remain slightly swollen and heavy, which is another reason why some of these women, especially large breast ones, say, I need a bra. Oh my God, I'm so uncomfortable with that one. It's because their breasts are swollen. And they have lymphedema. And it's a chronic, mild lymphedema. If it was really major, like it was a cinch down like a tourniquet, your blood flow would even stop, and you'd have a lot of immediate pain. But we're talking about a chronic thing that's not too tight to cause that, but tight enough to make your lymphatics impaired. So you do this day after day, and the tissues get progressively toxic. They can't metabolize properly because they're not getting proper flow and circulation and getting what they need and eliminating waste and toxins. And your immune system can't even fight developing cancer cells. So they already know in research that lymph stasis, which is a fancy way for saying congested tissues with fluid congestion, causes cancer because that whole part of your body is like cut off from the circulation. And the normal flow, ebb and flow of fluids that keep us healthy and is part of your immune reaction and how you deal with your body gets cut off when you impair a part of the body with tight clothing. So that's the mechanism. It's the immune system is being hampered by tight clothing.
Funny you should say that, because I was just going to say most men know that they shouldn't be using or wearing tight underwear. We should be all wearing boxer shorts because it restricts the testicles, and that could in itself cause a problem. Most men know that. I'd like to think so. I mean, do you think
it's common knowledge?
It's common knowledge for men. But the whole kind of issues with the bra, the underwire bra, I don't think many women would be aware of that, and it's obviously not really common knowledge.
Well, the thing is, if men... You see, what women are doing with their bras, they're sexualizing their breasts. And don't just pick on underwires. It's any tight bra. Underwires are just particularly tight, and push-up bras are particularly bad. But any bra, even if it's supposed to be, and there are new bras, by the way, in the 25 years we've been doing this, because our original book came out in 1995, it's been re-released this year to update it with all the new stuff that's come out. Where was I going with that? I'm sorry, I lost it when I went into my new book. That just threw my whole mind off.
That's okay. We just talking about the fact that the men are men know about the restrictive.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. The men, men aren't fetishizing their testicles with their underwear. They're not pushing them up to be visually appealing to women. Women are sexualizing their breasts with bras, and they're not doing it deliberately. The culture is doing it to them, but it's turning the breast into a fetish, and the bra is a fetish object. So when women are dealing with this, they're thinking about it, and men, we're all, and that's why it's such an uncomfortable subject, because it's sexual implicitly. And that prevents the proper, we become oblivious to the obvious. Yeah, it's tight. Of course that's bad for you. But if that's what you're expected to do, and your breasts are right there, you can't look at a woman's face without also catching glimpse of her bust line. So it becomes an issue. For a man, if we created cleavage between our testicles and had tight pants to show off our junk, then we would have disease just like them, and we'd be ignoring it too, because that's what we have to wear. I mean, it's an absurd cultural fetish, which has been a real obstacle, an impediment to the proper consideration of this issue. Because even I got contacted by a retired researcher from the National Institute of Health here in the U.S. He was a cancer researcher. He said he was very fascinated by this theory. It made a lot of sense to him. But he tried raising the subject to do some research with a female colleague, and she thought he was some sort of a pervert wanting to see her without a bra. I mean, as soon as you say to a woman, bras cause cancer, maybe you shouldn't wear them or wear them as tightly or whatever, they get defensive because you're not just addressing a garment like your shoes are too tight.
Well,
I don't think
Sydney, we're already seeing it on the chat room. We have a few ladies on our chat room, and we have a few questions. And it's already been said on the chat room there that, imagine working in an office where a woman has a white shirt and she's not going to wear a bra in an office.
Well, it depends on the if you're in a regular business, there shouldn't be an issue about this. Let's talk about it from two perspectives. One is the current cultural norms, which would say if a woman's nipple showed through her blouse, that's somehow extremely titillating and provocative. And that's unacceptable. Now, we can question that, or we don't have to question it. If you don't question it, and we want to continue status quo and be and feel that a woman's breasts are, for their viewers, it's important how she presents them to the public, whether they're in the right position, whether the nipples are covered, because, after all, if a nipple shows through a blouse, we're talking big trouble here, we can question these things, and then we'd realize this is ridiculous, that it should be sexual harassment to force a woman to have to cover her nipples or manipulate her breasts into a different shape for her job, unless she's working at a job for which that's appropriate, like she's a massage therapist or she's got some physical contact with people, and then you'd want her breasts to be perhaps, covered. But if there's absolutely no reason, she's a secretary or whatever, and she's comfortable that way, should we be forcing women because of what are really malleable and changeable social norms? Should we be forcing people to do things that make them uncomfortable physically and could be causing disease?
Listen, I agree with you on that, but I'm going to give you an example, right? When I worked in the corporate world, I did have a boss, actually, and it was a regular thing, and I don't know whether she was aware of it or maybe she wasn't. It was a regular thing where she would wear tight tops and you could see her nipples through the tops. And I kind of felt uncomfortable with the fact that she was, walking around and, to everybody could see this, and it was kind of the norm. Most days this was the case. Now, I just, initially you kind of go, okay, maybe she doesn't realise, and then you realise, actually, this is the common thing that she does. And I don't know whether she was doing it and she didn't know about it, or she was doing it and she was trying to, maybe climb the ladder and get some attention. I don't know, but I know that you say, look, okay, and put your head down and carry on walking, Yeah,
but wouldn't it be the same if she was wearing a provocative push-up bra and she had this cleavage that she was showing everybody? It seems to me that her motive is really what counts.
And women wear bras for lots of reasons. Sometimes it's to, push up their breasts and sexualize them. Sometimes it's for modesty, to cover them and so that people don't see their nipples or show very well. There's different reasons. Some women are so frightened that their breasts are going to droop that they think a bra will hold them up, which is just the opposite, as a matter of fact. The more you wear a bra, the more your breasts will droop without it. But also, women, I know it's difficult because they're so conditioned to feel that they need this thing. But, there are ways of diminishing the awareness of breasts by you can wear a t-shirt, a camisole. You can wear little bralettes that they're coming out with now that are just really lightweight, thin
breast covers
to cover your nipples. As long as it's not tight. I mean, and there's other ways of dressing that de-emphasize the breasts. You can wear double-layered shirts. Like I have shirts that have pockets in the front over the breast. So there's 2 layers of cloth over the breasts, and you don't see the shape or the nipples or whatever as much. And you can wear vests and sweaters, different ways of de-emphasizing your breasts. So you can be bra-free, and nobody will even realize it. So health comes first. It shouldn't be fashion over health. It should be health over fashion.
And I think there needs to be... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, well, that's great. It's the kind of societal programming that we all go through. And yes, that makes sense to adults who are, obviously concerned about their health and everything else. But again, we all have been programmed to a certain level in society, and what the norms are, and you see it on TV and everything else. So to change that approach, it's going to take an awful lot. But it's up again to the women, and we can't really talk being men. All we can do is kind of discuss what we do regarding our own health and the clothes we wear.
Oh, I don't know if I agree with that.
I think the men in women's lives have to encourage them to be bra-free. If a man expects her wife or girlfriend to wear a bra and look sexy, then he's doing her harm. We need support from men. We need men to say, I want your health over fashion, number one.
And and the whole thing of what's sexy and attractive, I don't get it. Explain to me why a woman is okay in the workplace with a push-up bra, perfume, lipstick, makeup, and she's like dressed to kill, which is the title of my book, by the way. And why is that acceptable? Where she's obviously trying to attract men or at least get favors for sexual provocative, you know what I'm saying? I mean, she's trying to be sexy to get ahead. Yeah. Why is that okay as long as she's wearing a bra? Yeah. Compared to another woman, her nipples are showing. Why are you offended by a nipple but not by false cleavage, which is, and when you think about it from an anthropologic point of view, I'm not the first one to say this, breasts are pushed up into the cleavage. The cleavage looks like a buttocks, and it's like a presentation, a primate symbol of presenting the buttocks as a sexual symbol. So you basically it's creating a buttocks image on the chest. That's not a very sexy way of thinking about it, but that's the anthropologic way of why does pushing up the breasts making cleavage, why is that attractive? It's obviously, a weird thing to do to your body. It's making an issue out of your breasts. To me, that is so much more provocative than just a woman having a natural body and I see a nipple. And by the way, men can have nipples. I can be in public with my hairy chest, all sweaty, with my nipples erect, top free in public. And it's totally fine. No one would think a second thought about it. But if a woman is breastfeeding her baby, it could be illegal in some places in public.
Yeah, I just think it's the indoctrination from society that we've grown up with, and we have to change that to a healthier way of thinking and doing.
There's industries that are making money on that. The industries, that's the point. Where's the indoctrination coming from? You have billions of dollars invested in breasts and in breast implants and in breast bras and in surgeries, breast cancer treatments. Is a multi-billion-dollar breast industry. Yeah, and it ties in with fashion and clothing styles and everything. So all of that becomes, it keeps the system the way it is. So when you're trying to get health out of all of this, one of the biggest problems is that health comes second in these cultures.
Yeah.
And it's up to every person to just make their own educated choice.
No, I totally agree. We're dealing with it all the time. We have guests on every week on the show, and we try and expose things that are going on and things that are bad for your health. And it's an uphill struggle because some people they won't accept it. They believe what the propaganda tells them. They buy into the whole programming side of things. And, it's an uphill struggle, but we will hopefully get there. I'm going to pass over to Steve. We have a lot of questions coming in from our listeners, so we want to get through them now. So, Steve.
Yeah, as Alan did say, there's a lot of interest on both of the chat rooms in relation to this subject. And, obviously there's a couple of, little jokes in there as well, but a lot of people are kind of taking it very seriously, and I have to say, which is good, and we do appreciate that. The very first question straight off the bat would be, now I know you did give, Sydney, some alternatives that people could do so they wouldn't be, in the workplace, so they wouldn't be kind of exposing their bras. But what are there alternatives to wearing a bra for, let's say, for a large-breasted lady who, and without going into too much detail, but I personally know a lady who is large-breasted, and she does say that if she wasn't wearing the bra, her back, because they will be hanging down, her back would actually be, she'd have a lot of pain in her back. So I think she kind of says that wearing the bra kind of alleviates the pain. But are there alternatives?
Yeah, I don't agree with, when you're dealing with her, I don't doubt that this woman feels some pain, but it's caused by the bra. It makes the breasts heavier. And when they take them off, it's like these are unnaturally edematous. You have lymphedema. So they feel like they need to keep it. It's like swollen, congested, heavy with fluid. And if they are conditioned to having the bra on, then when they take it off, they're going to have that sense of discomfort that goes away over time. And breast massage also helps relieve the congestion. There are ways you have swollen tissue. So I don't think large-breasted women were made by nature to need a bra. It's not like they are freaks of nature that we, thank God 20th century lingerie came around to help hoist these things up, and that if they're going to pull and hurt your back. No, what happens is in cultures where they don't wear bras, women are fine. They have large breasts. They're working. They're moving. They're nursing their babies. And they have virtually no breast disease because they're using their breasts as nature made them. Yeah. They're not constricting them and lifting them. Now, you look at these large-breasted women and you look at their shoulders. You ever see those huge, deep grooves in the shoulder tops left from the bra strap?
Yeah.
Because when you hoist these heavy breasts up and you put this weight onto the shoulders, and wherever you're putting that weight, it's going to be constricting. And imagine the amount of pressure. When they take those bras off, those are permanent grooves in their shoulders. And research has already shown that causes numbness and tingling in the arms and hands and headaches by impinging on nerves. It's that much of the pressure that it actually deforms the shoulders and hurts the circulation of nerves and everything. So you don't want to take heavy breaths and hoist them. They'll reach a center of gravity and natural balance on your body, and all you need to do is adjust your body to your activities to your body type, that's another thing. If a large-breasted woman wants to run around and play tennis, let's say, that's fine. She could wear a sports bra like a man might wear a jockstrap during an activity to control movement. But after the activity, you take it off and you let your breasts be natural. Like a man doesn't wear a jockstrap 24 hours a day, and you just only when you need control for a certain activity. It would be wise if large-breasted women did activities that were breast-friendly, like yoga, biking, swimming, things that aren't going to be stressful. Large people in general. If you're a heavy person, you don't want to jog or things like that can hurt, running can hurt your knees and your ankles. Your activities should be chosen based upon the kind of body type you have and what's comfortable for you. And people just have to learn to be comfortable with themselves, with their breast shape, with their body type. This is who I am, and this is how I have to live. Instead of letting the cultural images dictate how you should change your body. It's like we're supposed to conform our body to the styles. We should choose styles that conform to our bodies.
We shouldn't just feel comfortable with our bodies, but we should feel proud of our bodies. We're all unique. You know, we all have unique faces, unique bodies. Yeah. We have unique breasts too, and that's okay. We should feel proud of that. Be brave and feel proud. You are who you are, and love yourself.
I think that's very well said. I agree. I absolutely agree. But we do know that it is kind of societal programming that a lot of. I mean, if you just look at it at TV. When they show advertisements, 90% of the advertisements that I see are kind of directed at women, and it's kind of telling women, this is what's acceptable, this is what you should strive to be, this is how you should look. I know they're starting to do it now. They've started to do it with men's products now over the past couple of years, but it's been predominantly directed at women. And I mean, over here, we get we obviously receive a satellite TV channel over here, and every night on one particular channel, there are 2 ads, and they're always on in succession. If you see one, the second ad will follow, and it's a woman parading around in her underwear, and it's kind of discussing the underwear and why you need to be wearing this particular underwear as opposed to other underwear. And it's sad, I suppose, when you think of it, that women are being, and not only women but young girls as well, as we said earlier, from puberty on, they are kind of being shown all this. This is the way you need to do. This is the way you have to present yourself. And I totally agree. It's sad in a way, and we should be more understanding. And unfortunately, my wife, now she should be listening. She was supposed to be listening in this evening, but I don't see her on the chat room. But I know this is a show that she would really appreciate. And I have actually made note of your book, Sydney, and I have posted it in the chat room as well, because I think maybe, and it's very reasonably priced, and hopefully I just wanted to ask you as well, the information that you're going to share with us this evening, is that kind of in the book as well, maybe more in depth, because I think it's very important.
Oh yes, it's much more in depth, including all the recent research that's come out showing the bras are causing breast cancer, and it's coming out around the world. There was actually a study in the UK in 2000 on channel. It was aired as a documentary for the show called Dispatches on Channel 4, and it was called Bras, the Bare Facts. And they had, I was interviewed for that show when we were in London doing a tour, and it was about, they took 100 women who had fibrocystic breast disease. And this is really important because breast cancer is the end disease. That's the tip of the iceberg. The bigger disease, the bigger problems that's actually affecting, I mean, it's not big in significance, but there's a quality of life problem, is breast pain and breast cysts, which hundreds of millions of women suffer from right now throughout the world. And it's caused by tight bras. And, it's just no question about it. And I'll tell you another study that was done to show that. But so this Bras, the Bare Facts followed 100 fibrocystic women. They had doctors doing this, and they wanted to see what happened when they stopped wearing a bra for 3 months. And it was transformative of these women's lives. It was amazing. But what ended up happening was the industry gets shocked, and the medical industry is very defensive about this because they've been poo-pooing this whole thing, discrediting it, saying it shouldn't be looked at because they want women to continue to come for mammograms, which of course is cancer detection. That means you got it. And there's a lot of reasons to believe that mammograms can actually help contribute to causing it because you're irradiating the breast with known carcinogen, which is X-rays. So,
can I just interject there? We actually have this issue in Ireland at the moment where ladies were not diagnosed with breast cancer, and it turns out they were. And obviously, we agree with you on the mammograms. We've heard about that as well. But there is an issue over here regarding cervical cancer and also breast cancer. Scans not done properly, and women who are told they were clear and they weren't, and actually ending up, having cancer. So sorry, just to interject on that.
Yeah. Well, there's a difference between preventing disease and detecting it once it happens. And the reason mammograms were promoted, and I remember this when I was in medical school in the late 80s, they were talking about the breast cancer epidemic and promoting mammograms as a way of reducing it can't reduce incidence. It can only reduce the mortality from the disease if you catch it early. So they were saying, failing the ability to prevent something, if you can't prevent it, then the best thing you could do is try to detect it as early as possible. And that was their whole PR campaign. And it failed. All it did was they were detecting things that weren't even that was so early in the development, because that's the economic incentive, right? If you're getting people to come for tests, the sooner you can detect it, to the point where now they're doing a genetic test where you don't even have anything, but you have a genetic possibility, and we'll remove your breast prophylactically just to can you hear me? I just clicked something.
You're fine, yeah.
Yeah, you just remove them prophylactically just so you don't get breast cancer. You don't even have bad breasts, but you have a bad gene that might cause cancer. That's the absurdity of where it goes, because obviously are paid for treating and detecting. Now, if you are wanting to prevent this disease, the best way, obviously, to do it is to stop constricting your breasts so that your immune system can work and take care of your breasts and keep them from swelling, and don't try to change their shape. Just keep them natural. And that's the only advice. But that's not going to make medicine any money. And it's an embarrassment to the medical community, because think about this. We all know lung cancer and cigarettes are connected, right? But that was argued for 30 years. And the 1950s, doctors were still selling cigarettes, saying Camels are the brand doctors prefer most. And took 30 years and 7,000 studies before the U.S. Surgeon General announced the tobacco cancer link. And that's because tobacco was the culture. It was everyone smoked. And, getting rid of, like, everyone wears bras. It's the same thing. And it's taking just as long for the same reasons. Because industry is resisting it. They know the more studies that come out, the more likely there'll be the class action lawsuits that tobacco has seen. Because there'll be more research to prove it. The 20 studies that have come out so far showing a bra and breast cancer link are not enough for this industry. The American Cancer Society told me, they're my biggest opposition, and they told me, I spoke with the head of communications there, who's been fighting me for 30 years. He's like the Joker to my Batman, this guy. And, he's been doing what he can to keep this thing under wraps, saying there's no link. It should be ignored. It doesn't even make sense. Just wear your bra and come for mammograms. I mean, that's their position. And he told me it's so hard for them to fight the culture in any way. They rely on contributions. They don't want to be, trying to change society. They don't want to rock the boat. They want to get money to get breast cancer treatment drugs, because that's where the money is. And if it means challenging the culture like we have for 25 years, which doesn't make you a lot of friends and it doesn't make you any money, and challenging industry, we're not endorsing bras, we're challenging bras. So we are in a position of challenging the culture. They don't want to do that. And it puts into question every research study that ignored bras, just like research from the 1800s into lung cancer that didn't even consider smoking. You would think, well, that's useless. You didn't look at the most important variable of whether they smoked or not. Well, the same thing is happening with breast cancer research. If they're comparing groups of women on diet or on whether they use hair color or not, or if they nursed or not, none of that makes sense if you ignored the biggest variable. Are they wearing constrictive bras, and for how long a day? That is like the lead thing on the bras. Just like you couldn't understand foot disease if you ignored what kind of shoes do they wear. Or, you have to consider what the culture is doing to us. And that's the blind spot in medicine. They don't look at the cultural aspects of our lives, that we are cultural beings who transform our physiology and anatomy for fashion reasons. It could be an African tribe tattooing itself or putting weights on the breasts. And by the way, if anyone's wondering about the National Geographic women in Africa with droopy breasts and thinking, oh, this is what I'm going to look like, I'll give you the answer to that right now. Some of those tribes actually want droopy breasts. They think it's hot. And they put weights from the breasts to make them droop. And they also wear backpacks for their kids to carry the kids in their back, and the strap from the backpack goes right over their breasts, smashing them down. So you're dealing with, don't think of them as like, this is what a natural breast would look like. That's what their breasts look like in their culture, which affects breasts. Culture affects your breasts. It affects everything. Whatever we do to ourselves, it's because of our culture.
Okay.
So
we have a lot of questions here we want to get through as well, Sydney. So let's try and shoot through them if we can. Steve.
Okay.
Yeah, Peter says, question for guests, he said, it's really hard to buy clothes that are made from 100% natural fibres like cotton, hemp fibre, wool, etc. Just how bad are the petroleum-based products in most clothing? And he goes on to say that tight clothes make the body warmer, then the pores open wider due to the extra heat and let the elastane in. And that's a question that we wanted to throw at you there as well, in relation to elastane. We actually done a course. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Skenar technology for pain relief, but we actually done a course with Richard Cumbers of the Pain Genie. That's for Skenar technology, and he done some research into elastane. And elastane is one of the ingredients, as you most likely know, in bras and constrictive clothing like spandex. And he said that there's a direct link between the elastane being absorbed into the body and cancer as well. Is that something that you guys know about?
Yes, there are. Well, I know that some of the elastic fibers in bras break down. The monomer unit is 1,3-butadiene, which is a known carcinogen. I'm not sure about the specific one you're talking about, its chemical nature and what it would break down to. But the fact is, all of these synthetic polymers do break down and to the chemical units that make them up. A polymer is a chain, and each link sometimes comes off, and many of these links are cancer-causing chemicals. So yes, the bra product itself can cause that. I would add as well that any detergents, fabric softeners, and other chemicals when you wash the bra that remain in the bra are going to be intimately connected to your skin as well. So yeah, the bra, your skin absorbs all that stuff. So, any clothing, when you smell, if you fabric softener or you smell, Tide, I don't know what products you have in Ireland, but the typical detergents have perfumes in them. And if you could smell your clothing when you take it out of the dryer to put it on, you're putting on chemicals. It shouldn't smell. And we soak those in. So yeah, all of those dyes, some dyes break down and are released from the fabric, and some dyes are bad for the skin. So, and bras have been shown to cause dermatitis and rashes from some of these chemicals. But then when you think about it, so the chemicals in the bras are polluting the breast. The chemicals in our polluted air, food, and water that we eat get into your body and have to be flushed out, and they can't if your lymphatics are impaired. So here you see two different ways that the bra is causing the problems. Various methods that it causes trouble.
Okay. Steve.
Just the fact that we know that some of these polymers can, obviously if a woman is wearing the bra, it's constricting, and if during the day she perspires or she sweats, and as Peter said there, the pores open, some of these chemicals can be absorbed into the body. Mm-hmm. Do we know, are there precautions that we're, not so much precaution, but are there, is there anything that we can do to eliminate these polymers from the body? There's anything that we can take?
I think prevention is the answer. Just don't wear clothing like that.
Yeah.
You have to choose natural fibers. Wash your clothing in a fabric in a very minimal chemical detergent, and make sure it's not tight. That's the same for any clothing.
Yeah.
For sure.
But if some of the women listening to this program this evening are concerned that there may be some of these polymers floating around their bodies, will the body just get rid of these themselves, or is there anything that we may need to do in order to flush these chemicals?
If your lymphatics are working, your body knows how to get rid of these things. That's what your liver does. The liver is an amazing detoxifying organ, and your kidneys help eliminate things. And we eliminate in various ways. And if you think about how poisoned we are, driving on the highway behind everybody's traffic and exhaust fumes and the chemicals we eat, and we're so... In such a polluted world, it's a miracle that we are alive. And some people live like that until they're 90 or 100. So your body has a great way of rejuvenating itself. I don't think we need to take more in. Maybe somebody wants to take products or sell something for this, but Personally, I think if you have a healthy body in general, you're not like old and you're dying, and your body's breaking down. If you still think you have a body that can take care of itself and you stop the insult, I mean, that's my approach to health. Don't try to treat it. It's not like what do we have to do. It's what do we have to stop doing. If you stop constricting your body, it'll flush it out. If you're going to wear a bra and you're going to have these chemicals in your breasts, you're right. It won't get properly flushed out. I don't care what you take into your body to absorb chemicals. They won't even be properly exposed to your breast. If that part of your body is constricted, it's just not it's congested. It's not getting proper circulation. So you need to get rid of that problem, and then you can flush it out naturally. So the answer would be stop constricting the breasts to help with that, and do breast massage. And breast massage can be done by yourself. There are videos for how to do it. It's pretty easy. You just have to figure most of the drainage goes to your armpit lymph nodes. So if you take your breasts and gently stroke them towards the lymph nodes in your armpit, that helps flush fluid. And you can look at videos on how, if you want to do circular motions or whatever, it's totally non-sexual. On the other hand, you can have a sexual breast massage with your partner, and that's fine too. Any movement of the breast is what you want. You can even rebound. Oh, I meant to mention, so another study in England, they had 100 women who came to a breast pain clinic looking for breast reduction surgery because they thought their large breasts were making them have pain, and they wanted to have surgery to get rid of the pain and make them smaller. And they found what the doctors did instead of surgery, because there's too many surgeries, there's a lot of women having problems. So to cut costs, they tried to figure out, what might be causing this? And they found out every one of these women, every one of them, was wearing the wrong size bra. They were all too tight, and they got them better fitted bras that weren't so constrictive, and they no longer had that same pain, and they no longer needed breast surgery. So they're actually... It was a study that showed, and the bra industry itself says that over 85% of women are wearing them too tight. You give them sizing, but you're dealing with an elastic garment. That's the problem. Elastic stretches. So how stretchy is too tight? I mean, if it's already stretching, if it falls off, like if you wear an elastic band and it falls up and down your wrist, you wear it like a bracelet, and you want it to stop moving, you make it a little bit tight and it stops moving. But you can make it a lot tighter and still wear it. So how do you know the minimum tightness? And when you get a bra and you try it on, it might feel comfortable right now, but it maybe is a lot tighter than you need.
The key, I think, is to check your breast after you take your bra off, after you've worn it a few hours, and look for red marks and indentations in your skin. If there's red marks and indentations at all, then it was too tight. It's as simple as that. So just check yourself. Can
I just ask you about the lymph nodes? They're normally in the body. The body uses them to extract kind of waste with sweat and everything else. One of the things that obviously people do is they spray deodorant underneath their arm, which blocks the lymph nodes from extracting any waste.
No, it doesn't work that way exactly. And I've heard that argument. And I think underarm deodorants do deliver bad things to the breast area in the tissues. There's no question about that. Aluminum and parabens and, bad chemicals. But the sweat is an entirely different circulatory system than the lymphatics and the lymph nodes. So it wouldn't affect the lymph nodes directly. And it wouldn't affect and the lymph nodes don't do the detoxifying as much as they're like a filter that looks for bacteria, viruses, and cancer cells mostly, and any other toxins that might require white blood cells in an immune reaction. So and then they swell as they make white blood cells. They're little factories for that. So they're like sentinels looking for, guarding the rest of the body as the tissues drain their fluids. It samples it to make sure, is this tissue healthy? Everything looks good. Okay. Oh, wait, I see some virus here. We're getting a disease. And then it makes white blood cells to fight it. And so that's what the lymph nodes do. And that's the flow, why the flow is so important. It has to constantly be sampling the area that it serves. And the nodes around the body serve different areas. And the armpit lymph nodes serve both the arms and the chest. So when women get their lymph nodes removed with breast cancer surgery because they don't want the cancer to spread, because these cancer cells go through the lymphatics to the lymph nodes, and they get fought, and the body says, okay, we got to deal with this, and it sends white blood cells down to destroy the new cancer before the cells, because cells mutate all the time. We have billions, trillions of cells. You're going to have a little error all the time in genetic, reproduction. So as the cells reproduce, some of them are going to be mutated, and they need to be destroyed, and the body knows how to do that. It's an amazing protective machine. I mean, the body is a biological machine that has been designed by either a really intelligent natural process or whatever. I don't know. But we have this amazing body that can heal itself and reproduce, do all sorts of things if we don't get in its way, and that's it. We're trying to just don't get in the way of your body doing what it needs to do. And by the way, breast cancer, only 5% is genetic. 5%. They say they don't know what's causing 70%, and that's what the bra is causing. That's the part that the bra is doing. They can only explain maybe 30% of breast cancer cases right now, what's causing them.
Well, that's interesting. There is a kind of debate at the moment on the chat rooms, and some ladies on the chat rooms are saying it doesn't matter if men or women are staring, and there's the other side is saying, yes, I don't like men staring at me if I went out and didn't have a bra. But I will say, from a psychological point of view, and this is probably back to our Neanderthal times, and this is something that I studied, is that men in general, regardless whether you have a bra on or not, men in general will look at a woman in a V shape. And what they do is they look at the woman's face, then they look at the breast, and then they look at the face again. And that's a fact. And maybe that's just their Neanderthal thing that's in our brain from way back when. But that happens anyway, regardless, whether you have a bra on or not. It's just something that's programmed into us. So I just wanted to kind of put that argument to bed. That happens with men, regardless whether you wear one or not. We have more questions still, and I'm just keeping an eye on the time. We have about 15 minutes or so. So Steve, let's get the other questions over there.
Yeah, we have a comment from Joan, and Joan, I have to say, we have to agree with this one, but Joan says, if we lived in an environment where it was possible for man and woman to walk around bare-chested, she says, i.e. in a sunny, warm climate, I guarantee within a short period of time, people would take it as the norm, and it proves to me that we are being manipulated by the fashion industry. Well, I think, I definitely agree, Joan, we are, because when you look at any of the video footage of the people over in the Amazon and the rainforest or whatever, and they're going around, men and women, and the women are bare-chested. The women or the men never seem to look at them in a sexual way, because as you're right, it is what it is. That is the norm. But yeah, it's the fashion industry over here and society that has us the way we are, and it's taken us a long time to get here. And in order to move away from that, it'll probably take a hell of a long time.
I think an interesting way, it's always better to look at another culture than your own, because it's easier to see other people's foibles than your own. But if you look at, let's say, very strict Muslim cultures where they're wearing burqas and they're completely covered, all you can see is their eyes, because anything else is considered sexually provocative. So cover it all up. And, we could see that and say, oh boy, that's overkill. And yet, in those cultures, if a woman was to take her hood off and show her face, her veil off, it would make riots. They would kill her in the streets for being so provocative. So that shows you how absurd these cultural things are. I mean, if we have men and women able to walk around in a warm climate, they'll be top free. In a cold climate, they might wear a shirt. But does it matter what shape their breasts are in at the time, or what their belly button is looking like? These are the stupid things that the culture does just to make people feel insecure and sell them products. And people follow, because most people are sheep, and that's just the way it is. And as long as someone's selling something, there'll be people buying it.
That's it. It's all down to the advertising and marketing, and basically they make you insecure. And they say, but we can help you with that if you buy product X, and that will improve it. It's standard, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. And I think we're enabling the medical industry, which, they're my big, we all understand is the culture. But when you start to realize that your medical industry, the cancer charities that are there telling you that this is wrong. I remember when we visited England in 2000, there was a book that came out by Breakthrough Breast Cancer, it was called, is the charity, getting money from Wonder Bra sales and tight bra sales. And they were sort of a bra industry charity that funds breast cancer research. And they're called Breakthrough Breast Cancer. And we saw their book targeting breast cancer. And in their book, they referred to our research as claptrap and say it was promptly dismissed as claptrap and just ignore it. And then they try to fund research into genetics and stuff that has nothing to do with bras because they don't want you to look here. They don't want you to look at bras in research. They want you to ignore that and look at other things. So, it's why are we letting these cancer charities, these authorities who are telling the government, what to think about cancer, they're saying ignore this, that there is no link, even though there is research that is there, peer-reviewed research around the world, and women can test it on themselves, and that's why this thing is still alive, despite the industry resistance, is because women after they hear this shows like this, and I've done thousands of them over the years, they hear the message, they get rid of their bras for a little while, they feel so much better. That's the only way to prove this to yourself. We're not talking about high-level science where we need to do double-blind placebo studies and everything. You just have to take your bra off for a month and you'll know. You'll know in a week. In fact, if you feel bad with your bra off in the beginning, that shows it was a problem. And you'll feel better after a month. You'll know. I mean, so many women have told us. In fact, we're doing an international bra-free study. And if people want to go to that, you can join. It's free. It's called brafreestudy.com. It's .org also, but brafreestudy.com.
Do you think that you yourself and Soma, I mean, it sounds to me that you're going to have a very uphill struggle to convince women to do this. And I know it's for the right reasons. I know it's for health. But because of this cultural, societal programming that, and men are no different. We're getting sucked into, as Steve said earlier, into this kind of way. We have to look a certain way or use certain products to look a certain way. And
bras too. Men are wearing bras now too.
Yeah, but you saw me.
They are.
There's a word I only heard about 6 months ago. I don't know if you guys probably have it over there. But I never heard it until 6 months ago. And one of the lads I was working with, and he dropped this word, and I had to say I have no idea what you're talking about. But the word was manscape. And so, you may landscape a garden. Well, now seemingly all these products for men are for manscaping. Manscaping, yeah.
I guess that's more of a masculine way of trying to appeal to men's egos and make them just as insecure as women, and they are.
That's it.
Totally. So we have about 15 minutes left. What's the positives? Let's get the positives out of this. How is your movement? Well, I won't say movement, but how are your interviews and your book and the information you're putting out there to people? How is that going? What's the feedback from it?
That's an interesting question, and of course it's changed over the years. Ever since we've been doing this, since 1995 when the book came out, we've been struggling uphill. But we were the first study internationally to ever look at this, and now there have been others. So as time goes by, it's ratcheting in the right direction. That's because, as I said, when women try it, they see for themselves, like, wow, my cysts went away, my pain goes away, my breasts are starting to lift and tone, and they know that the bra at that point was harming them. So that keeps it moving in that direction because there's a truth factor that you could test. It's not just take my word for this. But unfortunately, as time has gone on, the medical industry, which initially just ignored us and just said, forget this, they've taken a more and more aggressive approach to try to discredit us. People who try to support us get attacked. There's a coordinated effort to keep this off of Wikipedia. There's a Wikipedia entry somebody did on Dress to Kill, and they control it. They say explicitly in the discussion section, if you want to see a fascinating example of cultural manipulation and how Wikipedia is terrible, they say people have to know that this is discredited, and they will not allow any positive references or studies or anything. And I've had people have told me they tried to edit that page, which everybody's allowed to do, right? But they won't be allowed to. And the guy who's controlling it, the person, man or woman who's controlling it, of course, it's all anonymous. They they're making it clear that they will not allow any edits. They also do a whole big Wikipedia thing on the history of lingerie. So I don't know who they are, but that's how the system works. We've been attacked by all sorts of people trying to discredit us, ad hominem attacks on who we are, other things I've written, or whatever. They just don't want to deal with the issue. And after 25 years, they've gotten really good at it, of just keeping the mainstream locked down. I think somehow it gets out what subjects are considered, especially in these days with the whole concern about fake news. That means if anything is non-mainstream, it could probably be labeled that, and then just all the mainstream networks and everything just wants to ignore it. Like we don't go there. And it doesn't matter what information you have. And that's why the big key for me is trying to get the cancer authorities, like these charities and government agencies, to just admit that this needs to be researched. I mean, they don't even want to do that because of the political sensitivity. They're obviously biased to not look at this.
It's not even the political sensitivity. It's the money. It's the bottom line. I mean, we're talking about the corporate world. We have the same thing. You probably heard about cannabis oil and the benefit of cannabis oil. And there's no way the cancer charities are going to be pushing that or promoting that, because from somebody who has worked in the pharmaceutical industry, which I have, they are making so much money from the drugs, chemo and everything else. Why would they affect the bottom line by telling you to take something that they don't make money from? The only way they will make money from that is for them to control it. And when they control it, or when they try to control it, then they will be telling you to go and take it. And I think we both have to agree that the cancer industry is like $1 billion, $1 trillion industry. You're coming from, your approach is from the lingerie side, bras cause cancer, and we always say that there's certain other products out there and food groups and everything else cause cancer. And again, it's a massive industry, and that's what you're up against. And we've tried to promote and educate. I mean, they cured cancer in 1920, right? We know that. Royal Raymond Rife, he had a machine, he cured cancer, he had a machine to do it. And there's all other kind of cures, homeopathic cures out there that have cured cancer. Now, and you can say, I'm not a doctor, so I can't say, particularly something works and cured, because you need a license to say cured. So apparently or allegedly they've cured cancer or went into remission. So let me just get that straight. But this is the problem. You're up against a monster, and the monster is all about the bottom line.
Yeah, but look at this. You're in Ireland, I'm in Hawaii, and we're talking. So that says to me we're moving in the right direction, because they're not killing this despite all the resistance. People do have a desire to live, and they do network with other people. And if it wasn't for social networking and the internet, this would have been dead for sure. But we got into this in the 90s when the internet was developing, and people kept it alive because when they tried it and they felt how much healthier they were, they spread the word. So the only way to deal with this is with grassroots. But I'll tell you, the good news is, since besides additional studies being done as a result of our research, there are different bras. There's at least half a dozen new patents that have come out over the years that actually, this is kind of ironic, but they actually cite my book, Dressed to Kill, as the reason for their patent, talking about the lymphatics. Nobody in the cancer world since the 30s has even really considered the lymphatics in cancer. And that is so important. And now they're realizing it, that lymph stasis, lymph congestion causes cancer. It's your immune system. If your lymphatics are impaired, your immunity is impaired, and you're open to any type of disease, especially, in addition to cancer. So, medicine, it's going in the right direction. There are studies now, and women are now being more bra-free than ever. More of the celebrities are bra-free than ever. And you had that comment about the chat, in your chat room you said some women are saying, oh, there's no way, and other women are saying, oh, I could be without a bra. I wondered if you asked their age, if you'd see a difference. We're noticing that older women are much more open to being bra-free, really older women, because they don't care anymore. It's like, my health is important. And when you get older, your health becomes more important. When you're young, you typically don't worry about your health. But one interesting thing about millennials is they don't like people telling them what to do. And a lot of them are questioning why they're wearing bras. The Free the Nipple movement. I don't know if you've heard about that.
We've heard, yeah.
Yeah, that's getting more and more popular. And women are questioning, why is it that men don't have to wear a bra, but we do? Why are we being subjected to this? So I'm encouraged that the millennials the young millennial men and women are so much more open-minded to everything. I mean, they're open-minded to transsexuals. They're open-minded to, all sorts of gender identity things. Let's get it all on the table. I mean, to them, whether you're wearing a bra or your nipples are showing is like, who cares? That's nothing. To the older generation, it's like, oh my God, I can't be seen in public. But of course, they said that in the 1800s. I can't be seen in public without a corset. Somehow we made it out of the corset. But it takes time, it takes determination, it takes people like you guys, it takes brave women to do it, and people like you guys to keep the word out and be open to even having to open their minds. That's why I love you guys and your approach. Open your mind. Yes, that's what this is all about. How do you open the minds? And knowing what you do, I'm sure you guys know, the hardest people to convince are those who have already taken a public position against you.
Yeah.
So the biggest obstacle is the medical community, because some of these guys and women have put their career reputations on the line with these statements. And their statements are like, there's no way this could happen. It makes absolutely no sense. Or they'll look up on Medline and they'll see no medical references because, interestingly, the only places you can get published are in journals that are peer-reviewed, but they're not part of the mainstream journal family. And that's how they control the field.
That's it. Well, the one thing, I'm just watching the time here. We have a few minutes there. I totally agree. I mean, we've always said it. When their salary depends on them not waking up, then obviously that's the important thing. I'd like to have Soma come in here as speaking from a woman's point of view, because we can't talk about bras, and just to give us, give the ladies another talk about, just a quick mention about why they should not wear bras, because obviously we don't know the feeling and all that kind of stuff. So if Soma doesn't mind coming in and just giving us a quick talk about it.
Sure. Well, I can understand if you've been wearing a bra for many, many years every day. It might seem strange, it might seem hard, but be brave, try it, and give it a couple weeks at least, because it takes that long to adjust and start feeling better about it, and be brave, and you won't regret it. At the end of a month, you will feel so much better and such relief, and you will actually be able to forget about worrying about your breasts and worrying about breast cancer. So many women are so fearful, and they're trying to keep them fearful. All the pink ribbon and all the marching and dancing for breast cancer is just to keep women fearful and coming for their mammograms and going to get their surgeries and chemotherapy. I mean, you don't want to be a part of that world. Liberate yourself. Get rid of the damn thing. It's not worth it. Be free. Be liberated. You will be so happy that you did.
You got nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose.
Well, actually, the one thing that we didn't say, and which is actually quite important, is think of the money you're going to save.
Yeah, absolutely. They're expensive. They're expensive. And it just you'll be amazed at how good you feel after the initial adjustment period. And you'll set an example for other women, and it'll spread, grassroots.
So how do you deal with the pressure in the workplace? What do you do in the workplace?
Well, you just dress appropriately. You wear a vest. You wear a camisole or a t-shirt under your clothing to cover your nipples. There are ways of dressing that nobody will even realize that you don't have a bra on. No matter what.
Well, you did say, Soma, and said that there are things that you can put over the nipple anyway. So, so if need be, you can put that on. We have reached that time, and again, that's fantastic information, and I hope a lot of people tune into the podcast when we have it ready and on the website to go back and re-listen to what's being talked about tonight, because we find it very important. I mean, it's a serious matter. Okay, there's a few giggly comments on the chat room, but look, that's expected because the subject matter we're dealing about. But the seriousness of it is the breast cancer, because there is a massive epidemic of breast cancer, and women going in and having mastectomies, sometimes before they even get diagnosed, as you said, Sid, a genetic thing, and they go, okay, let's take them off before we get breast cancer. When we know we had we had Dr. Simoncini on our show, who's an oncologist, and he said he can cure breast cancer in 6 days with sodium bicarb. He's an Italian oncologist, and he was on our show telling us that he could fix it. He could actually cure it. So there are ways and means. You know, having a mastectomy is not the way to go. I think there's different things that you can do. But if you can avoid it, it's all about avoiding things. If you can avoid it, then that's so much better. I'd like to thank Sid and Soma for coming on the show. And a big thank you. And our listeners are saying the same thing in the chat room. I'm going to pass you over to Steve. Steve's going to get all your contact information where people can find out more about both of you. Steve.
Yeah, Sydney and Soma, I want to say thanks as well. It's been absolutely fantastic in education, and I'm sure we would love to do it again sometime. Just a catch up. We do have the link to the book, which is Dress to Kill. We have the link there for Amazon. It's only I think it's $13. I urge everyone who's interested in the subject purchase a copy. I know I'm going to get one when I get home anyway. If anyone else wants to find out more information, do you have a website where people can get information,
Yes.
or are you on Facebook or YouTube?
Well, we're on the best way is the website, and it's brasandbreastcancer.org. That's simple, bras and breast cancer.
Okay, great. And are you on Facebook?
We have a Facebook page for the book. You'll see there's also a group called Free the Boobies where women share their experiences and support each other. You can see all that. Also, but to link to all of that, go to either brasandbreastcancer.org and go to the brafreestudy.org. Bra-free study. No hyphens, just bra-free study. And that'll give you links to these other things. And I hope women join because they'll be the healthiest group of women. We're going to follow them for 10 years and hope that we expect that in 10 years, this group, a cohort of bra-free women, will have the healthiest breasts and the lowest breast cancer rates, just like they do now in bra-free cultures. They have the lowest breast cancer rates. So, join that club and join the study. It's totally free, and Soma is the one administering it, and it's very simple and very low-key, but it's the way to prevent breast cancer.
I'd like to put out a request to our listeners as well, that if anybody in Ireland is actually studying this, if you can get them to contact us or give us the details, we'll pass their details on to Sid and Soma, because obviously this could become a worldwide movement to have this change. And, as I always say, an orchard of 1,000 trees, the first tree has to be planted. So, let's link up people who are involved in this and get some kind of movement going. I think it would be good. But that's brilliant. Sid and Soma, fantastic. Thank you for coming on. Just stay with us there for a minute. We're just going to pop over to a musical break and we'll be back after this.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMradio.com and peoplesinternetradio.com.
Okay, yeah, Alan was just singing there, I want to be bra-free. I flipped through his repertoire, all his 45s and his albums there. There was no bra songs, so that's the best we could do.
Yeah, I can't even think of one. Okay, look, there's a few things that we want to get through before the end of the show. I want to touch base on. The first thing is, I want a big thank to Dougie. Dougie's on the chat room at the moment, and Dougie's a regular supporter of the show, as are a number of other people. Some people don't mind reading their names out, and other people want to remain anonymous, which is fine. But Dougie actually has made a donation to OYM towards the food bank and towards the couple that got evicted in Balbriggan. I won't mention the amount, but it's a substantial amount, and we'd say, Dougie, thank you very much for your donation. We're going to make sure that them funds get to the food bank and to that couple, and I want to make sure that we actually it gets to them direct. So I'm going to arrange for myself to actually go down to them and see them personally and give them that to make sure that they get that right in their hand. So a big thank you for that, Dougie. That's much appreciated. And obviously with the food bank, we will be getting doing the food, and we'll do the photos and we'll put it up on the site as well, so everybody can see what we're doing with that. So Dougie, thanks a lot. Much appreciated. Sorry, put me teeth in. Much appreciated. Right, okay, now I don't know whether you've been watching the Irish news lately, but apparently some mobile phones and laptops have gone missing in the Gardaí that contain vital evidence implicating Garda management and various conspiracies. Why have we no investigation into evidence tampering? Maybe we need the Time team to look for the phones. According to the Irish Times, Charlton Tribunal, only 3 of 12 ex-Gardaí commissioners' phones recovered. None of 3 mobile phones sought from former head of Garda Press recovered. Can everybody just stop what they're doing and look under their chairs and look under their table to see if there's any phones? Because the Gardaí have misplaced their phones and we can't find them, and it's vital evidence, and they've lost them somewhere. So you must have been somewhere and you just put them down and just they can't find them.
One of the ladies actually in question, I believe she's lost 5 mobile phones.
5 mobile phones. Maybe she shouldn't have a mobile phone. That's terrible, isn't it, really, that they can't find the mobile phones? It is,
considering that there could be text messages, or whatever on these phones that, may not show them in a very good light.
You don't think they lost them on purpose, do you?
No.
No? No. Would they?
No,
they wouldn't lose them on purpose. Not our Gardaí. They wouldn't do things like that. Right, okay, now, we do have a lady in Scotland who sent us over an email, and she said that there was a plane flying around where she lives, and you know these noises that people hear around the world, they're like trumpets, and some people call it's the rapture noise,
yeah.
And it's, it's very weird sound. And this lady, Jane in Scotland, said that she has a feeling that these planes are actually generating that noise. Because she said she heard this noise, and then all of a sudden, after the noise, what followed was the plane. And she was just wondering that if anybody else has experienced this, could it be the planes that are actually creating this noise to fool people into thinking that something's going on? I don't know. So we just said we'd put it out there and we'd read it out and we'd give it a mention. And the last thing on the list, Steve, if you want to read that out, it's an event that's coming up.
Yes, the Irish Society of Homeopaths is bringing you a special screening of Just One Drop on Wednesday, the 13th of June at 6:30 p.m. at the Lighthouse Cinema in Smithfield, and that is in Dublin. We're delighted to announce that Jim Corr will be our MC on the evening for the screening of Just One Drop, the movie at the Lighthouse Cinema. Jim is not only a famous singer, musician, songwriter, and a member of the internationally acclaimed band The Corrs. Jim is also a keen advocate of natural health and healing. Just One Drop tells the little-known story of homeopathy, the most controversial system of medicine ever invented. So now, that's one for your diary. Again, it's the 13th of June, and it is a Wednesday, the Lighthouse Cinema in Smithfield, and that's in Dublin.
Brilliant stuff. So, loads going on. I'd like, again, just to say thank you to Thomas Williams for standing in as a guest, because we weren't too sure whether Sid or Soma could actually make the show, because they are in Hawaii, and the Kilauea volcano is going off. They actually had to leave their house for safety, and obviously they're at our neighbour's house for doing the show tonight. But it was good to find out what was going on over there and finding out about bras and breast cancer. And again, I'll just say out there, if anybody knows somebody who's involved in this or knows about it, get them to contact us and we'll put you in touch with Sydney and Soma. Maybe there's some kind of movement that we could go on globally. It might be a good idea and give it a mention. But that's it. So what have you got planned for the week? Anything happening?
Well, nothing really. I mean, obviously we'll just that book that Sydney is The Dress to Kill. I will definitely go home. I'll order a copy of that, and obviously I will discuss. Well, I'll plant some seeds as usual, but it's going to be very difficult. I mean, how do you initiate a conversation in the workplace? Let's say you work with a bunch of women, and obviously they're all going to be wearing bras. How do you initiate that conversation? Go, do you realise your bra's killing you? I think you should take it off. How do you kind of break the ice there without getting the slap?
I think you have to get the book and show them the book.
Yeah.
But and I was being serious when I said that there was this corporate lady that was in the office that I worked in, and it was kind of uncomfortable, because it's so bloody obvious.
Yeah.
There's some men go, oh yeah, I wouldn't mind that. Well, actually, it was, in the environment we were in, it was uncomfortable,
A bit in your face, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a bit in your face, yeah, literally in your face. And I don't know whether she knew about it or she was doing it to try and get up the ladder with the executives or stuff, but you never know. You don't really know. But it wasn't. It wasn't.
But that's an interest. I mean, from a woman's perspective, obviously, I can't speak from a woman's perspective. But I can say if a man was doing it, I mean, if a man was wearing certain clothes that would accentuate certain parts of his body, he would know he's doing it. I don't think a man would be kind of oblivious that he was doing it. Do you?
Yeah, no, he would know he's doing it. But then again, as we said earlier, I mean, we know, the men know not to wear tight underwear because of potential testicular cancer.
No, but I mean, like in the workplace, I mean, obviously a man knows if he goes in and he wears tight trousers that it may make certain parts of his anatomy look bigger than what it is, But he would know about that. So I mean, if this lady in your old workplace, if she was going in and wearing and dressing a certain way provocatively, then obviously I think personally, like a lot of women, when she gets dressed in the morning, the last thing she'll do is have a look in the mirror and make sure everything looks okay. So she's obviously going to know that men being men are going to look her in a certain light. Maybe
it was consciously done in the morning. I don't know. Now, obviously, just to go over a few bits and pieces. As I said, I did an interview with John McCann on People's Internet Radio on Friday. Just me and John, being drummers, talking about the music business. Nothing got to do with OYM or the New World Order and all that kind of stuff. But that's up on our YouTube channel. And on yesterday we had a United We Start Radio Marathon. That was a great chat. Loads of information on that as well. Very open-minded stuff. So if you go over to unitedwestart.org, the podcast is over there. You can download it or tune in, have a listen to it there. And obviously the show tonight. And I'd say to all the guys listening, try and get your partners to listen to this show and listen to the information and think about it, because, breast cancer is quite serious. I mean, it's very serious. And a lot of women seem to be suffering from it. And if it turns out that it is the bra that's causing it, or one of the causes of it, then obviously you can understand why they don't want to come out and admit to it, because the litigation would be phenomenal. Again, it's the deniability. They want to deny everything. So I think if you can get them to listen to the show, it would be quite good. But anyway, from myself, I want to say good night to Alan James. Have a good week. Take care. If you have any information, send it in to us, and we'll see you next week. Who's on next week? Let me see who's on next week. I don't know. I don't think I have it on the list, do I? Oh, I don't have it on the list.
Must be a surprise guest.
I'll quickly check while you're going to say who's on.
I am. Well, I mean, if people want to know and get advance information of who's on, just subscribe to the newsletter, the mailing list, and you will receive an email in your inbox, and it will tell you exactly who's on and what the show is going to be about.
So we have Mary Helen Hensley going to be on, and she was on a 20-minute segment for the seminar, the conference. So we're going to get a full show with Mary. So, alright, good night from me. Anyway, Steve, over to you.
Yeah, okay, Barry Prince is up next on People's Internet Radio with the big puzzle, and Graham asked me to just give a mention that for a heads up for a PIR show, it's going to be starting at 9 p.m. on Monday evening, and the guest is Chris Coverdale of Make Wars History, and all OYM members are especially welcome. So that's going to be on People's Internet Radio Monday evening. That's the 14th of May at 9 p.m. So do drop in. Okay, we're going to clear, and Barry is up next. So until next week, I suppose we'll do it all again in 7 days. Take care. Bye bye.
Open your mind.